Hello, Internet. Cool. So try hack me, day 9, admin of cyber. First things first, let's log in. Ellie. Let's see. Get connected. Then refresh the page and just make sure we're connected. Yep, we are. Sweet. So day 9, anyone can be Santa. Let's see. Santa has been moving, adopted work from home ethic in 2020. Elf McSkitty. Let's go ahead and deploy that so we're started. The team created a file server. The best festival company, TBFC, that uses FTP protocol. However, the attacker was able to hack this new server. Your mission is to, should you choose to accept it, is to understand how this hack occurred and retrace the steps of the hacker. Okay. All right, so we deployed a vulnerable machine, understand the fundamentals of the FTP server and some common misconfigurations that ultimately exploit these ourselves to gain entry into this server. Okay, so we're going to hack this FTP server. So it says FTP offers no thrills means of file sharing. That's true. That's true. Okay. Standard for these ports, 2 ports, port 20 for data. So they're giving you sort of an overview of the FTP protocol in general. You must log in. Execute, the data can be shared. So web FTP to share the files instead of the web server itself. Means you'd have to share username and password through some other way. Enter anonymous. Okay. Any password by client. This user is treated like the user of the two servers before permission privileges to manage data. Okay. So we're going to get a tutorial on how to use FTP. That's cool. Anonymous, successful, FTP. So they're giving us this little handy chart. These are probably the commands we're going to have to use most likely throughout this challenge. If you're familiar with Linux or even like more modern Windows, these commands, ls and cd, should be pretty familiar. Ls is like list the contents. I use the mnemonic list stuff, and then cd is change directory. So Git is how you download. Put is how you upload stuff to a server, save stuff to a server. So let's see. Okay, so what are they saying here? File with an sh extension. The extension does shell script, and when executed, will run commands that we program. Let's use Git to download the file onto our device so we understand why this file has been left here. Okay, so let's go ahead and, I guess, get started with some of that. Copy. Oops. That way I don't have to like alt-tab back and forth. So okay, so machine IP. Oh, I guess I do have to alt-tab back and forth anyway. So we copy our IP address, FTP, paste our IP address. As we hit enter, it says, welcome to the Best Festival Company FTP server. We were told that we were supposed to use the anonymous, not anonymous, but anonymous username. Login successful. Okay. So it tells us like this 230 is just a response code from the server saying login successful. It tells us that we're on a Unix machine or a Unix-like machine using binary mode to transfer files. Okay, I'm sure we'll get into some of that stuff later. ls. So I send it a command. The server says 200. Okay. You know, here comes the directory listing. Just 100 series is just information. And then here's the information that is on this other machine. So what does it say? We'll navigate, run the ls list contents. So ls backups. What's in backups? Nothing is in there. Ls elf workshops. Oh, I tried to use. Nothing in there. Ls human resources. There. Ls public. Okay. So there is something in the public folder. cd public. Now, if I just type ls again, it should, because I'm in the context of this new folder, I can do that. So let's see. It says use the git command from the server on the device, understand why it's been left there. So let's git backup. Okay. So I'm going to open up a new terminal. And we can see that there is a backup.sh. It says, if I put the contents with cat onto the screen, I can see that the contents say created by Elf McEager to backup all Santa's goodies. I create a variable. The variable's content is assigned the result of the expression. Backup date. It takes the current date. This is some bash scripting stuff. These little backticks means run this command and then sort of put the output as like a different kind of variable. We can see that real quick. So this represents the current date plus, and then run the date command with the parameter, adding in the variable %d, which represents the day, zero with zero padding. So if it's less than 10, it puts a 0 at the beginning of it. So it says backup, show the 09, date 0, I'm sorry, %m, which is likely going to be the month. And then a big Y is probably going to be, I think it's the 4-digit year. So let's go back and try it. Yeah, 4-digit year, %m is the numeric month. And so it's going to create a variable called backup 09 underscore 20 underscore 2020, or I'm sorry, 12 underscore 2020 tar.gz. Tar.gz is like a zip file. It's just a way to compress a collection of files. All right, and then it said actually back up the folder, stuff, store in Elf McEager's home directory. And then it runs this command, run the tar command, which is like the zip program. It bundles a bunch of stuff together. It's a tarball. Think of a tarball being sticky, so things stick to it and it's stuck together. And then the Z is the zip or the compression part. And it wants to save this file in the home Elf McEager directory, and then as a file that is this variable that we established up here. So that's really all that means. And then the source is opt FTP. Okay. Automate the transfer of the backup server. All right, so that's what the script does. We could have read that right here. Sorry, y'all. It says it executes every minute according to Alpha McGeeger and creates a backup. Oh, that's different. It doesn't actually say that right here. Huh, okay. We want to replace the command execute on a script with own malicious commands. Uploading a file requires separate permissions that shouldn't be granted to the anonymous user. However, permissions are very easy and easy oversight, such is the case here. Okay. So let's use the pen tester cheat sheet to get a good command that will be executed by the server to generate a shell to our attack box, replacing the IP address with your try hack me IP. That's the one that sort of shows up right at the very top of the page when you're connected. Okay. All right, so there's kind of a lot going on in this. Jump off out of the gate. So what's happening is if you understand a little bit about how shell processes work, you'll notice that there's what they call like standard input and output redirection taking place. What they're saying is that we want to invoke the output and the input of this bash program to a file which represents, in Linux, everything is represented as a file. In Unix operating systems, everything's represented as a file. So you can use basic, standard input and output mechanisms to manipulate almost everything on the operating system. So what we're saying is we want to take the input and output, shovel or redirect all of that into a TCP connection, which is going to be initiated outbound. This dev TCP, your try hack me IP, that's the attacker's machine. So you're saying, I want to send the output of this to this IP address on this port by way of TCP. So it's kind of, there's, like I said, a lot of assumptions you just kind of have to make about this if you're not familiar with what this command is doing. Just understand that that's going to initiate an outbound connection from the victim's machine to your machine, to your attacker's machine. And this zero, and then redirecting the standard output and standard input, all of these things, such that it becomes interactive. It's not just a one-way stream of data. And then it kind of shuffles that off into the background. So we can replicate that. What do we have to do? We have to issue this command. We're probably going to manipulate it and then put it back on the FTP server. Right? What did it say? Let's use the pen tester command. Run this. Let's set up a netcat listener. Okay, so the second part of this is it's not enough to just have the victim machine initiate a connection. Like, you have to be in a position where you're able to receive that connection and you're open to connection. So you're going to have to open a port, that same 4444. Again, that's part of the notion of protocols. You have to have a common language that you're speaking, right? You have to have an agreed set of rules. And so if you're not listening to the same conversation, then obviously you're not going to have effective communication between the two devices. So we'll use netcat to receive that, and they give you the commands to do that here. So netcat is they call it the Swiss Army knife of networking. It's just a way for you to open, to create and receive arbitrary UDP or TCP network connections. So you can sort of use it as the networking portion of an otherwise non-network aware program by way of doing all of this fancy like redirection through the shell. So what did we do? I think we can copy this. Copy. So nano backup. We can comment this stuff out because it's not actually going to run, or we don't care if it runs. And our try hack me IP is what again? That. Then I want to put, oh, I'm sorry. I guess, where's my FTP? Right here. I want to put backup. I had it timed out, so I have to connect again. CD, where was I? I was in public, if I'm not mistaken. CD public, ls. Now I want to put backup.sh. All right, and then I'm gonna, I guess I probably can't cat backup. It won't. Let's see what commands are available. I don't know. Let's see, help. So by typing help, I can see all the commands I can do. Let's see. If I use size, that'll tell me. I could just like download it again and see if it's the same. I just want to verify. 213.384 LL backup 384. So this is the number of bytes that a file is. That is analogous to like the number of characters in a text-based file. One character is generally 1 byte. There might be, if you're using different like encodings, like Unicode things, you might end up with larger files, but particularly like UTF-16 or something. So what were we doing? Oh, every minute it's going to execute that. So we need to hurry up. NC-LVP 4444. Okay. So what this does is it runs the netcat program, listening on a port in a very verbose manner. And then I guess the P is the port, I guess, specified here. So port 4444. And I'm listening on any IP address. So hopefully at some point I will get a connection. I don't know. What were we supposed to do? Invoke something? I think it said it executes every 60 seconds. Oh, there we go. So because this is the backup, like you can imagine what's the scenario here? So this person wrote a program that every minute it takes a backup of all the information in the FTP server and then saves it in the person's, in the operators, the administrators, like home directory. That's useful because that gives you, to the minute, a history. If say somebody accidentally deletes a file, you have like 1 minute resolution that you can sort of go back and say, oh, okay, well, I want the version from 30 minutes ago. You can go back and get that. That's why that's of value. Well, that's actually not true because it's actually overwriting. So you actually have 1 day. So I want the version from 3 days ago, right? This date plus D09, every minute it's going to get that. So say I deleted a file a week ago, I can just go back to the backups from a week ago, pull out that file, and it's there. And it happens to get updated every minute. So you don't have to worry about taking a backup at 1 a.m. in the morning, right? And then not having access to the revisions that took place throughout that working day. So we ended up getting a shell by replacing the contents. They deleted all the contents out of that script. I commented them. Not really that big of a deal either way. what happened. Let's think also what's happening. So some program has to tell it to run every 60 seconds. And I think they might have mentioned that it was a cron job. And a cron job is something that is a way for you to schedule when a task will happen on your computer. And you have, again, I think down to the second resolution. Maybe it's to the minute. So you can say like every minute, every 60 minutes, every 3,600 minutes, do something over and over again. So let's see. We have, and in order to do that, you have to be, to an extent, like certain aspects of that, you want them to be restricted to root users, right? So, and when I say root, I mean administrator. So that's an administrative task that's been taking place. Let's see. Because root is executing that script, we're running that bash program. It's going to start at the top, go to the bottom. It's running that bash program in an interactive fashion in the context of the root user that invoked it, which happens to be root. That's why we have root. There is no higher level of privilege on this particular machine that I'm aware of. So we have hacked the server. Cool deal. I like it. What does it say? What's the next step? Anonymous mode enabled, allowing us to authenticate. We've discovered we have permissions to upload and download files. Yeah. So they're giving you some sort of recommendations and some sort of context here. It's like why an anonymous user should not be able to maybe modify existing files. And modify existing files is, the idea is like, I can't, what we did is we uploaded a file that already existed or that was named something that already existed. And so it got replaced. So maybe anonymous users shouldn't be able to upload at all. Maybe you have to be a named user. So yeah, execute as the root user, the most powerful Linux system, also vulnerability, restrict whenever possible. All right, so which has name the directory that has data accessible by the anonymous user. Oh, I have to do that over here. So I think I type ls, cat flag. Sweet, awesome. Copy selection, back over here. Here's our flag. Okay, so this is where we'd actually like walk through all the stuff. So public, I think, is the name of the server for anonymous. It was backup.sh. What movie did Santa have on his Christmas shopping list? I didn't look. So ls/, let's go back to our FTP server. So we're here on ls. So you can type quit when you're in a situation like that, and it will back out of there. I believe you can. Yeah, quit. That's one of the valid commands. I got that by typing help. Anonymous. Not anonymous. I don't know why I always type anonymous. ls cd public ls, and I want to get the shopping list. txt. All right, so on my computer, I should now have a file called shoppinglist.txt, and I can put its content on the screen with cat Polar Express movie. All right. Polar Express. Copy. Sweet. And then our flag was, what was it? Here, THM, selection, even you can be Santa. Re-upload the script. And so again, they're kind of talking you through some of that. So, all right. Well, that's a very cool challenge. I like that they give you so much explanation about like what's actually happened. This is a pretty cool lesson. So, all right. Well, I think that's it for today. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.